In life is that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Sia, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bites. I'm Ben and this is Sia. So this week, we're going to talk about what is a normal life anymore. I mean, seriously, is there any way to describe normal? Because everybody today is doing what they're doing. You know, whether it's LGBTQ, whether it's transgender, whether it's, whether it's gay, whether it's straight, whether it's, God knows what else it is. Everybody is doing their own thing, and this is great. The first thing I want to do is say this is great. People are people. People are people. You may not agree with them. You may not understand them. You may not want to participate in a lot of things that they want to participate in, but they're living their lives. And as long as they're not hurting somebody else, and as long as they're not hurting you, let them do what they want to do. But, we're all worried about this sense of normalcy. And the question is, what is normal today anyway? I mean, can we even define what normal is and by whose standards? And why, why are those standards better than somebody else's standards? So Sia, let's gnaw on this.
Ooh, you throwing down some use case very specific that I was like, oh, that's some volatile stuff. And I'm all for it. And I'm all for it. I'm actually all for it. So, okay, look, we all have our value and belief systems. That's the foundation of who we are as individuals. And I have nothing but profound respect for your foundational stuff because that's the essence of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And much like food preferences or friendships and family, you're not always going to agree. You may not always like what comes out of your aunt, I almost called Aunt Flo. That's a different reference. Aunt Fiona's and Uncle Billy's, perspective on things, right? I mean, anyone that can say that their family has exactly same belief systems, I would venture to guess it's probably because everyone's being nice to each other and polite and not necessarily getting to the root of things. So if normal is
no conflict, and
wait, look, hey, if you have a culture or a belief system that like, we're just going to be kosher and not pry into anyone's surface, pry into anything beyond, the surface level of the facade of who we are, that's fine. Let's go for it. I do think that term normal, now I'm getting nervous, I can tell because I'm starting to itchy. I think that term normal is abnormal. There is no normal, right? And in a way, much like every animal in the animal kingdom is not consistent. There's mutations, point mutations, whether it's genetically done or naturally or through the environment, etc. You're right. We're still human, and it doesn't matter. And what's that saying? Leave, let be, let be.
Live and let be.
Live and let be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's like, okay, look, if someone wants to do something that I find personally offensive, I see them doing it. You know what I'm going to do? Walk on. Now, if it means that it's going to be harming someone else and it's offensive, I will say something. But if it's something like, hey, if someone wants to play like, country music at full blast and like blast it in my ear, I'm probably gonna be like, okay, dude, and move in another direction. So it's no longer, I'll be in the blast path, if you will. Right. And yes, I said country music. I'm sorry, people. It's just not my jam. I'll listen to it live. Just won't listen to it like on the radio. But
we'll get you there.
But am I offended by them? No. I mean, I don't care. Like, is it to listen to a country music song for 15 minutes really going to change my world view in life and affect me? No, like, just let it be. Enjoy the moment, enjoy the musicianship, and try to find the positive in something that you find so negative is, I guess, the way I think. the new normal is.
Well, when you said abnormal, all I could think about was Young Frankenstein. Where he says, you put an abnormal brain in a 6'4", 300-pound monster. You know, what's his name? Abby. Abby what? Abby Normal.
It might be normal.
That's whose brain I put it in. I put Abby Normal's brain in it.
Oh,
But
I love Gene Wilder. Okay.
oh yeah, gotta love Gene Wilder.
Rest in
But
peace, buddy.
it's absolutely. But you look at it and say, normal to whose context? As you said, people love country music. People love grunge music. People love opera. I'm not one of them. But it doesn't make opera people abnormal. It just means that that's their jam and it's not mine. So the question is, what makes it right and what makes it wrong? And that's my problem with life, is when we start labeling things that we don't consider normal. And if it's not sensible to us, it's wrong. And I think that that's where we have the biggest problems in life, when we sit there and say, well, I wouldn't do that, so therefore it's wrong. And the people who are doing it are wrong. And that leads to a world of us versus them, of conflict, of mistrust, of miscommunication, of people not engaging with each other. And it leads to a world where we sit there and everybody sits in their silos, and we don't even talk to one another because we can't have the conversation because they're not normal. And the question is, they're on the other side of the fence looking over at us going, they're not normal. And both of us are right in our own lexicon of what is normal, of our own lexicon of, this is the things that we agree upon, these are the things we don't agree upon. My lexicon is different from your lexicon. My views are different from your views. But the thing is that you should be allowed yours, I should be allowed mine, and we should be able to sit there and say, I disagree with it, I appreciate it, I understand why you may think that way, I don't think that way. Agree to disagree? Okay. But none of that makes one of us normal or not normal.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of a previous conversation, right? Of that agree to disagree. And understand that's just one facet, right? We're like so many other infinite bullet points that we could like focus on that we would consider, quote, normal for both of our viewpoints and our standards or whatever have you. I don't even know if I use the term normal anymore. I don't even think normal is normal. Like, so why do you think people would pose that question? So audience, I'll pose it to you guys as well. Is like, how would you define normal? Is society defined normalable? Is it normal? Do you love how I make up words? Cause I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's CEs. We'll call it CEs.
It is CAEs for sure.
It's a very good language. But I think that normal is the sense and sensibilities of ourselves. What are we comfortable with? What are the things that we ourselves are comfortable with? And that's what we consider normal, is the things that we sit there and say, well, I would do that, or I agree with that, or I think that that's a logical thing to do, or I think that that's an illogical thing to do. And therefore, if I think this way, everybody around me must think that same way. And if everybody around me thinks that same way, then anybody who doesn't must be abnormal. And I think we get into these, cyclical conversations based on the cone and the groupthink, and we're unwilling to bring people into our sphere that are not like us because, well, they're not normal because they don't think the same way that we do. They don't think that everybody should wear pink. Well, if you don't wear pink all the time, you're not normal.
I think it's a lot of the conformity, right? I think that's that idea of feeling of belonging, and that if we can
Yes.
have that group think in a lot of ways of like, okay, so if you all wear pink together or wear yellow together or blue and red or whatever, purple, who cares? Lavender, chartreuse.
Black.
Hey, I can get behind that.
Yeah, I know.
I can get behind that because it's easy. But anyway,
Exactly.
no, I know. I feel like, yeah, no. I wonder if we have that acknowledgement. Okay, so here's my question: is we've shifted towards where we are acknowledging mental health more, right?
Yes.
And we're saying acknowledging it, I mean, like really acknowledging that there are mental health challenges that people go through, and people are more willing to share it that they have mental health challenges,
Hmm.
and that they might be going through therapy or whatnot. And so if we quote normalize that communication, is that would that not make life better? Do you think I'm trying to figure out a way to word this so it doesn't sound horrible. Um, because we are acknowledging these things more, the nuances of where our brains are where we fit, how we feel, is that the new quote normal now then? Is it the
It's the
it's a
new
more
normal.
openness to communicate. Like, does
It's
that
a
make
new
sense?
normal for some, because there will still be some that sit there and say, you know what, just get over it. And you're just being whatever. Suck it up, suck it up, sunshine. There's still that level of people that are sitting there going, you know, why can't you just figure it out on your own?
Yeah. I
And
mean,
so those people are still seeing this whole embracing of mental illness as an illness versus something that should not be talked about or thought about. Still see it, those who do, as abnormal, and the people that who see it as normal to talk about mental health see those who are willing to throw it back into the closet as being abnormal. And I think that normality comes from a greater embracing of an idea, and there's never going to be true 100% of acceptance of any idea. There can't be.
mm, yeah.
However, our goal is to sit there and say, make it more normal to talk about it, or more accept. I think the better word is more acceptable to talk about it, and more acceptable to embrace people with mental illnesses, and enable them to be able to share what their challenges are and bring them back into society instead of putting them outside with a stigma. The same thing could be said about drug addicts and
Right.
alcoholics.
Right. Right.
Um, but I think that we need to be able to sit there and say, are we as a world willing to take those people out of the corners and the shadows and bring them into the light? And I think that that is becoming far more of a normal quote unquote conversation, and people are embracing it more than they did 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And I do want to clarify, there is mental illness and wellness, which is
Yes.
two different things that I'm kind of like shifting. And then I realized I think I might have superimposed one words for the other, which I didn't want to do. Um, I do believe, just like any sickness, if you've got the cold, you got to work through it, right? So if there is some wellness that you need to get, yourself in that proper mindset, like, to get yourself in a mindset of productivity, right? That's where I was kind of leaning towards. Where, by the way, I do have a toughness. I do get it. I get it. I'm the kind of person that's like, okay, so what, you fell. Okay, I get it. Let's cry together. That boo boo hurt. Now let's stand up and let's go. Like, let's fix it, right? Um, and I think you kind of need a combination of a little bit, because I feel like there's some instances where you can run the risk of wallowing
Mm-hmm.
in it, to say it's like if you've got the common cold, for example, and I'm not gonna, make fun of any particular life partners that, I might be affiliated with or anything, but if they have cold, it's like, the earth is ending and they're like in bed and boo-hoo. It's like part of me is kind of like, drink some water, like, get your sleep, and get up and go after when you start feeling better. Stop wallowing it. Go take a shower, go take a bath, do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I know it's probably empathy on my part that I'm lacking, but still, do you have to be so dramatic?
But that comes down to what your sense of normal is, and your sense of normal
Ah,
is get up, get up, get over it, get on with your life. And to you that's normal. And to your partner, they want to be coddled, and they want to be taken care of, and they want to be told that that it's okay that they think the world's coming to an end. And, and that's a sense of normal for them. So let's leave it at that and sit there going, we all have our own idea of what normal is. And I don't think that that can negate that other people's sense of normality could be different from ours, and they could have a completely different perspective. And for them, that is what's that's their normality and their reality. So I'm Ben.
And I'm Sia.
We'll see you soon.
Hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Not on This, Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me at brilliantbeammedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Not on This, Business Bites.